Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Life Conversations with the Twist. I have LaNysha on my podcast today. Her and I just met 2 minutes ago. But I already love your energy and I've been like stalking your story and I'm so excited to have you here. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so cool to be here with you.
Yes, and I've had so many past guests who've been on like TEDx talks, and I'm like so intrigued by this whole thing, and I'm like, I think it's so cool. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So tell everyone a little bit about who you are, where you live, a little bit of background about you.
Yeah, so I'm based in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's the capital of New Mexico. Wonderful place. Number one travel destination in the world right now,
Oh,
according to this magazine that comes out, leisure travel magazine that comes out, and it's just so beautiful. And it has a lot of art influences, and artists from all over the world come here. At my core, I'm a foodie, lover of people, and a lover of ideas, and I find joy really in gathering around meals and really breaking bread with folks. And food to me is about culture. It's about connection and care all in one.
I love food too.
Um,
I'm like,
oh
you need to come to Sonoma County because we got lots of good stuff.
yeah, I know. And like we pair the food with the wine, that's the next level.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm so curious. I think my number one strength is curiosity and like love of learning. So I love people and their stories, and I really think that like influences how I operate. And then whenever I answer this question, who am I? I always talk about who I am at essence, outside of the roles I occupy, because I think that's very important. But in terms of roles, I'm a mom. I have two small children. They're 5 and 7. I'm married. I work at a community college. I'm an author, and I really think about myself as like a thinker with these ideas, and I'm always looking for ways to connect dots across stories. And like that's really like the heart of who I am.
I love that. I was actually just reading a book and they were talking about how when we do introduce ourselves, it's always like, I'm a mom, I'm a podcaster, I'm a business owner, but we never really talk about like who we are. And I so need to get better at that because I think it's so important that you lead with that instead of just like what's on paper.
Yeah, it's the lazy way. If you just focus on your roles, it's like it's so like it promotes this idea that who you are actually is the role, which underneath that is like what you do,
Mm.
which if you retire or if you, heaven forbid, lose someone, or there's always something connected to that you can't control. So when something in life happens, you're like kind of having this crisis. Well, who am I then? And it's like we really have to focus on the essence of who we are, independent of other people, because your life changes, things happen, there are so many twists. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, speaking of twists, so tell us a little bit about your journey. You could take it back to when you were a little girl and kind of like what your aspirations were when you were a child and kind of like what led you to where you're doing today.
Yeah, so I think the first foray into kind of like picking, because I studied applied linguistics when I was in
What is
college.
that?
Yeah, so linguistics is the science of language.
Hmm.
And when you think about applications of like how you unpack language, right, in social interactions, like say like there's a indigenous language that people don't speak anymore and they never had a grammar, they never had a dictionary, kind of building that out, right? And then
Mhm.
also with all the things with the languages for all the AI stuff we do, underneath all that is like linguistics, right? So like the science of language, like how is that constructed? What algorithms do we use? What does that mean? How does it function? And the reason why I was so obsessed with this language idea and like what do we do with language is because my dad is from Western Samoa. My mom is a mix of different things, Black in LA. And when I was coming up, I had this multicultural thing going. Like her parents are part Native American from a tribe from Cherokee, but from a place in Oklahoma. And so we had like all these influences, right? Like Black culture, a Native American, Samoan, which is an island in the South Pacific. And then we lived in LA where my neighbors, everyone on that block spoke different languages, right? Armenian, like Spanish, Farsi, Samoan, like it was just like all these
So
different
fun.
languages. So growing up, I really was like, oh, like this. this is like where I really love, and all the foods, right, associated with all those cultures. And then with like every culture, every single culture in the world loves food, and they use food in ways to connect with one another.
Mhm.
So I could have gone hospitality, but I picked languages because I was really kind of like intrigued by like, well, what are the words and how does it function? And then I think, over time I just kind of thought, oh, I could apply language not only as a teacher, but in education and policy. And so a lot of my work revolved around that. And then now I'm at the community college. I'm a director of the Student Wellness Center here. And every day I kind of get to, I get to play with language in all the ways, because how we talk about people with disabilities, right? Do we say
Mhm.
disabled students, or do we say students who are registered with this office, right?
Mhm.
Do we say that, they have a disability, or do we ask them, what's your diagnosis? So I really am intentional about the kind of language we use to help people feel more like themselves, right? More
Mhm.
of who they are, beyond a label, beyond like an idea of like what some external body has said about who they are.
Can more people do that? Can more people do the work that you're doing? Because honestly, I mean, even like myself, like I'm constantly trying to learn how do you say things? Like how, even like, people say like Mexican or Latino and like how you group, where everyone's like background is. And especially when it comes to like disabilities and stuff, I'm always like, how do you navigate that with and being respectful around it?
Yeah, I think we sometimes forget to just center the human experience, right?
Mhm.
So as a person, like I have an invisible disability, right? Like with my heart. When people are talking about disabilities, I think they're thinking about visible disability, like you in a wheelchair, you have something with your leg, you have cerebral palsy, whatever, like, but there's so many things on the spectrum and that categorize you as your life being impacted by some condition that you might have.
Yeah.
And I think like when I think about like how we do that with language, I think about what's what's the essence of being human, like not just the individual person, but like as a person, as a species, as a person on the planet. And I think we all want to be respected, we all want to feel secure, we all want to be safe, right? And feel like in some sense of like we belong here. And I think that's like the heart of it. I mean, there are a lot more things that people want and need, but for survival, I think those are like the
Mhm.
basics. And so if we can just when we're interacting, like have that top of mind, it
Mhm.
makes it so much easier. But it is hard when you're in an institution and then the institution talks about things in this way, and then they put these labels on it, and then you need the labels in order to do this. And you start going down the path where you're like way far beyond what it means to be human. When you're focused on labels and category. I mean, I don't know. I just think that's wild, like
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. So did you go to school? So you went to school to learn this crazy thing that I've never even heard of about language.
Applied linguistics.
Um, did you go straight to working for the college? Like, did you know that you wanted to teach, or like,
No,
how did you come into the
no.
teaching world?
No, so I knew that I wanted to go into education. So when I was like young and I was like, okay, what do I pick? I think I was 13, and I through the library learned that, linguistics was the field. And then I was like, okay, well, within linguistics, what do I pick? I I figured I wanted to be a professor. Then when I was 18, I got this scholarship from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That was a 10-year scholarship. And if you want to be a professor, you need a PhD. So I was like, okay, this is it. I'm first generation college student. My parents had me when they were teenagers. They're not educated. I'm the first in my family to go to college, the first to graduate with a graduate degree. So, it's like that was kind of a big deal for me to come up with this idea. And I didn't have, it just came from books. It came from like knowledge, like, okay, I want to do this, I need this degree. And then as I was going through the journey, I wasn't really committed to be with those people at the university, because
Mm.
some of them are weird. Like I don't want to generalize, but I'll just say, when you're in an environment where it's all academic and it's based on like your intelligence, these are all the nerds who got picked on and then they got smart and they get the PhD. So when they get in a position of power, maybe they gonna be like, I'm gonna get those people who got me. Like that's how I think of it, because because I had some weird experiences, like I went to Cal State San Marcos, shout out to all the Cal States. And that school was amazing. It was just like best of the best professors there, and it was small. Then I left there to go to Columbia at Teachers College, and then I studied, applied linguistics research there. And then I was teaching, I was training other teachers and doing all this other stuff. And then I thought, oh, I don't want to be teaching anymore, because the more I learned about policy, the more I learned, oh, I should be with those people because the policy sets the standards, and that's always in language. So then I started doing that. And then I kind of transitioned more into that, because then I was like, well, it's not just policy, it's research, and then data, and then how do you analyze data? So then I, and throughout the thread, the through line throughout all of it is like, if you're gonna make arguments, you're gonna have to use language in creative ways. But you need more than just language. You need data, you
Mhm.
need real life examples, you need all these things, these stories, that people live and make sense of, and then that needs to be like incorporated in a way where people can really understand and respect. And in our culture, the higher degree you have, the more respect you get. And so that's kind of like why I chose to go down that path, and like the trajectory it was as it was. But then like getting to the college right now here, like I've been here for almost 2 years, year and a half. And for 8 years, I worked. So I worked, in this regulatory state level policy, blah, 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 after I was teaching. Then I changed, ran my own business, coaching and consulting firm in DC for 8 years.
Oh.
And then I had a sudden cardiac arrest. And then when that happened, and after the book came out, we left DC to move back to New Mexico. And I really had to change my life. I really had to think about, what is my life going to be now? I have this thing that is different that I never had before with my heart. And then it kind of led me into thinking about, where do I want to put my money where my mouth is now, right? I have all these skills, I have all this experience, but the focus of my life really needs to be on wellness, holistic wellness. So then I saw this opportunity, ended up getting it, was like, boom, it's great. And it also works for 9 to 5 working mom family life, right? Because it's out of college, spring break, I have the same spring break as the kids. So then I just started thinking like, okay, this is how this is going to work for my life right now.
Mhm.
And I'm still able to, speak, to do talks, get called in to do other things, right? And then my day job, I get to really practice what I preach about, like how do we make sure we embed wellness and like holistic well-being of us as people in this structure that I'm in.
Friends, I have such an exciting product that I need to share with you. Are you someone who hates washing their face at night? Yep, that's me. For years, I never wanted to wash my face. And finally, I found a product that actually gets me excited to wash my face every night, and that is Clear Stem. I have tried so many products over the years to find the one that I truly love, the one that makes my skin glow, the one that makes me feel good when I wash it, and the one that gets me excited to want to wash my face. I discovered Clear Stem through another podcaster, and I was like, I got to give this a try. I instantly became obsessed. Some of my favorite products are the hydrating cleanser, which I use every night. It smells delicious. It makes my skin feel so great. Once a week, I use their Vita Scrub, which is an exfoliating cleanser, and that just has these little micro beads in it that just make your face feel so beautiful. I can just feel them get into my pores and really give my face this huge glow. And then one of my other favorite products is the Hydra Berry mask. And once you wash your face, you put a layer of this on your skin and you go to sleep and you wake up and your face feels like butter. I get so many compliments on my skin now. I don't get a lot of breakouts anymore. My face feels nice and hydrated and bright, and it's all because of the Clear Stem product. What I love about them is that their products are all clean. They're good for your skin, they're good for your body, and they have so many different product lines based on the type of skin you have. So go down in the show notes, click on the link. I'm giving 15% off to anybody who uses my code, and I promise you, once you try this, you are going to be obsessed just as much I am. So again, go down to the show notes, click on the link, receive 15% off, and give Clear Stem a try. I promise you will not regret it. So you alluded that you had a cardiac arrest, and this was only, what, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Talk about
Yeah.
like that day and like what happened and what your experience is, and how your life has really changed from that on a health level.
Yeah, for sure. So, um, January 2022, right? Like my family, we got COVID for the first time because I think we've had COVID a few times now. But I have two small children, and at that time, the kids were my baby. I had a baby during the pandemic, so June 2020, and so what, January 2022, he was one. He was taking a nap in the crib. Um, my other son, he's three, he was three. He was playing with me, and I was like thinking about, I was really stressed this day
Mhm.
because I kept thinking about my deadlines for the book, and I was like, I had to make all these edits. I didn't
Oh, so
agree with
book
the
was already
editors.
in production before this.
Book was in production, almost done. I was supposed to be done May, I was supposed to come out in May, and it's January, and I have all these edits, and I just could not see the forest through the trees. I could not. It was like I can't even, and I was like stressed. We had gotten COVID. I was getting over it. This day I felt the best I had all year because we got COVID at the beginning of the year. So, and I was like I was really sick. But then this day I felt really great. The baby's taking a nap. My husband was like, "Look, no, you're not gonna cook tonight. We're gonna get pizza." He goes out to get the pizza. When he leaves, I have a sudden cardiac arrest. What I recall, and it's not the same as a heart attack, what I recall is I sat on the couch and I was gonna watch something on TV, and then the next thing I know, I'm waking up in the ICU 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later.
So what happened was that he went to get the pizza. I have this sudden cardiac arrest. My heart stops. I'm out, lights out. If your heart stops, I think you have about a few minutes. So somebody needs to do something before you're dead, like officially dead. And actually, on the paperwork, it says sudden cardiac death. It's not sudden cardiac arrest. It's like I literally died because somebody had to do something to my heart in order to bring me back,
Oh.
right? So then he goes, gets a pizza, comes back, sees me. He goes through the kitchen, puts a pizza on the stove. Then he comes back out. He's getting plates, and he's talking to me, and I'm not responding. So then he was like, "What?" And so he sees I'm not responsive, lights out. He immediately gets me on the ground, starts CPR. He's certified in CPR. He had never performed it on a person though, right? It's all theoretical. So now he's doing the CPR, and then our son, our 3-year-old, was crawling around. He thinks it's a game because, like, oh, we're gonna do this. So he has to keep this 3-year-old off of me while he's keeping my heart going, while calling 911. And then they arrive within 10 minutes, and it takes half an hour to work to get me back. I didn't come back. I didn't get, I wasn't like, and I never came, I actually wasn't awake. So they got my heart going, but it took half an hour to do that. So then when I get to the hospital, I was in a coma for like a week, and like ventilated, lights out. And at the time, everybody was being told that I could potentially be brain dead because if you don't get enough oxygen to the brain, hypoxia, that's what happens, right? It happens in the air. It happens high elevation or at any point. Like you're not getting oxygen to your brain. You're not living. And so when I woke up in the hospital, can you imagine? Like the last time I was in the hospital was to give birth to my son. Like I'm like, why am I here? They had restraints on me. I was trying to get out. It was crazy. I was like caged animal. Like I was like, get me out of here. Like get me out. Why am I in here? And then they call my husband. They're like, maybe you can calm her down. And he's like crying. He's like, oh my God, I'm so happy you're not brain dead. I'm like, brain dead? Get me out of here. What are you talking to me? Why are you talking to me like this? It was so crazy. I remember that moment because I was like, I'm in a hospital? Like, what the hell? And then I was like, where are my glasses? I was not a nice human being because I was constrained in a hospital bed. Like,
Yeah.
what?
You're like, what
What
just happened
happened?
to me? Yeah.
What happened to me? Yeah. And so yeah, so that's kind of like what happened. And then the consequence, right? You have, when you're in the hospital like that, you have to, well, I have to learn how to walk. I have to do all this stuff. I have to get all my systems back online, do all these tests, and then wear this device because no one knew at the time why my heart stopped really. The best theory they had was like you had COVID pneumonia, your heart stopped. But at the time, right, like people were thinking of COVID pneumonia like COVID, like it's a lung issue. But now a lot of the research points to how that virus can attack different organs, create inflammation in your heart, and that can cause other problems, which is what happened to me. And as a result, I have a heart condition called dilated cardiomyopathy. I have to be medicated, for my heart to function normally. And it's a condition I have to live with, but it's a result of COVID, which is insane, like because of this
What?
virus. I have this heart condition. Yeah.
I had pneumonia. I had COVID and had pneumonia and was pregnant, and I still had 3 more weeks to go. And I was so sick for like 10 days, didn't eat, couldn't eat, finally went to the ER, and that they found out I had pneumonia and I almost died. As soon as I like got better, I had a baby. My son was like, I'm gonna make an appearance, and I gave labor like right after. Like 30 minutes after like finally like feeling like I wasn't dying.
Oh my gosh.
And so they think it's because of COVID.
No, it's because of COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, it's idiopathic, but my cardiologist, who's like one of the, or my old cardiologist from Hopkins, was doing the earliest research. So if you look into it, like, heart-related conditions as a result of COVID, most of the people are like male athletes. I don't know how. I must have a lot of testosterone. I don't know. But there aren't women who are getting it like me in my age group, because the other people who have it are like 80, 90 years old. So when I go to the cardiologist, it's like all the people who are like 80 plus, they've lived their life, they messed up their heart, the heart just starts shutting down. I had no heart condition, I had no medical illness before, zero. So then how is it then? Can you explain this? And like a lot of the research is pointing to how, and other viruses can attack your heart. But with COVID, it creates so much inflammation in the body. So then for some groups, it just centers around their heart. And that's what happened to me.
Oh
And
my.
it really created a lot of damage.
So how
So
long were you in the hospital for?
I was there for 2 weeks. So I was in coma for a week and in the hospital for 2 weeks. And it was very tough because yeah, I mean, I had to do all these therapies, and then my husband negotiated pushing back all the deadlines with the publisher. They were still savage though. They were like, "Okay, it's not going to be May, but you need to get this done by September, October." I'm like, I just got out of the hospital, but if I didn't have that, it would have been like really harder for me emotionally. But I had some motivation. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, okay, I need to get to this point. I need to be physically like this, so I could do this book tour next year." like, like I'm still living. Okay, I'm back. I'm living my life. Like, what am I gonna do?
And you got the book published though, because the book is. I thought the book was because of your experience, but you were already in the process of it. What is your book about?
Yeah, so me power is about redefinition of empower. So a lot of times people think empowerment has to do with someone giving think something to you. And I really challenge that concept because it's from inside. It's not a thing you can give to someone else. It's energy that's within you. So the best that another human can do is create conditions to where your empowerment can shine, but it's really like you that holds that. So I really kind
Mhm.
of explain why we have this misconception, and then the second half is about like the 5 principles of me power and how you can practice it and how you can exercise it more. Because life gets us down. Like certain things happen we can't control. Like what happened to me, I could not control. It happened. So then how do I keep moving through life? Like, or how do you go after something that you don't know how to, or you feel like you can't because now you have all these challenges. So the book really is about like how to. I have like stories. I have a lot of research in there. It's a nonfiction text. Think Malcolm Gladwell or some other text that kind of showcases principles through story and research in a readable way, digestible way. So
Where can we find it?
yeah, so all everywhere books are sold, and
Okay.
then I'm gonna give your listeners a free audiobook. So I'll give you the link for the free audiobook, and people can listen to it. You can find it on Audible. You can get it at the library. Ask the libraries to get it because then they buy it, and other people can have access to it. So,
Yeah. I'll
um,
make sure
so
our
yeah.
library I just got a card because I don't want to talk about that. But my son really wanted to go to the library. So I will ask. Because the word empowerment is like very much in my blood and what I do. So I would love to hear the concept, but I totally agree with you that it does come within. And I think there's things that can like influence it, but it is with you to change it. So, oh, I can't wait to read that.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you think.
So your TEDx, when did that come into play?
Last year I applied in 2023. I think I got selected in 2024. And really, the way that that process works is like, you pitch your idea, like the idea that's beyond what is something promotional, right? It's an idea that is universal that might speak to people. It may not be a new idea, but the way that I talked about um labeling and like how we should question like things that we take for granted, right? Like, so this concept of, you know, um, talking about who I am in relation to a role.
Mm.
I think in order to move beyond that, we have to go through this process that I talk about in the TED talk, which is what I'm calling radical interrogation. It's just like asking yourself, questioning who do you think you are, and then who have people told you, because people tell you like what they think about you. Oh, I think you're this. Oh, I think you're that. You like this, depending on who they are. It might be critical, it might be nice, it might be not so nice, like, so it's like, well, how am I defining myself, and then how are people seeing me? Because like if people are experiencing me like that and that's not how I see myself, that could be a problem. So you kind of have to go through this process of like, how do you see yourself, and is how you see yourself how you're showing up in the world, because other people are going to receive you like that,
Mm.
right? So some people, they really struggle with this because they don't want to showcase who they are, like who they really are. They just want to showcase an image of whatever they might think. And I think that's fine, but if it's your choice, great. If you're just doing it because you've been conditioned and programmed, then that's what we should be questioning and challenging. I think I fundamentally believe that.
Mm, so good. I always believe that my speaker or my guests come on my podcast at certain parts of my life for a reason. And literally, I struggle with this. I know, like, who you see is what you get. Like everyone's like, you're probably the most authentic person in the world, and I do believe that. But I do have sometimes a hard time like understanding and feeling like, who am I? Like I've asked people, I'm like, well, how do you see me? And they'll say like, you're inspiring and you're authentic and these things, but like I wish that like I believed that. Or not that I believed that, but like I knew that without questioning it.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I think it's all about kind of like, because I feel like what we think is this idea that it's fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Like who I am is the same as it's always been. I believe there are elements of that. I call that essence, the essence of who I am, right? Like I described, right? Foodie, lover of people, I love ideas. How that manifests changes over time, right? Because I live life. I mean, when I was a girl, it looked like this. When I was a teenager, it looked like this. Now I'm a mom with, now I have these roles that shape the essence of me, and it, and like parts of who I am can only be showcased in certain contexts. But like, I think when we talk about self-care, like this is the idea I'm operating from right now, is like where we really need to unpack self-care is like, how do we show up for ourselves as ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that fully independent of roles? It's like we don't have space to do that. I mean, we have to make the space, but I think like the more we focus on that, the better it is for us to integrate these different components, right? Because people, how they see us has nothing to do with us, it has to do with them. It
Mm-hmm.
has something to do with us in that, we're doing things and they're receiving it. But who we are, the essence, we get to determine that. We get to choose. So if we're disconnected a bit from the essence, it's because we're too focused on other things and not so focused on self in a way that is protective, that is caring, that is like a steward of like what I'm calling me power, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
really are loving who you are, and all the changes that come with who you are, because we make choices and then we get different roles, and then that, it's like it's all interconnected, but at the heart of it is like, this is what I'm about. This is how I show up in the world, and I'm choosing this. Some people, they don't choose, they just go based on their program, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if we want to have more impact, if we want to have more positivity, if we want to have more happiness for ourselves holistically, then we need to do it from a place of choice, not from a place of autopilot or force.
So good. I'm going to make a little plug because I'm doing a women's retreat. This will be our fifth women's retreat. And
Ooh,
I look forward to those retreats, even though I'm like putting it on, but to create a space for women to figure these things out or to have the space to think and do the things. So that's my plug if anybody wants to come to my retreat. But
ooh, when is it? That's
it
amazing.
it is November 14th. It's just a
Ooh,
day one, and then we do overnights as well. But
ooh, I'm excited. I got to find out more too.
yeah, like I just think like I would love for you to be a speaker at one of our next ones because like it's that energy and it's those moments of just sitting with yourself to really like because when you do, it comes out and you feel it and you know it. But you're right. When all the noise is going on and the kids are screaming and phones are ringing and
Yep.
there's so much things, it's hard to just be.
Yep. 1000%.
How has your life changed since
Um,
your cardiac arrest?
how have I changed? Um, I think I'm slower. Like I think I was so ambitious. I am ambitious. But I always thought, the irony of all ironies is I always thought I would die early, just based on how I grew up and what I saw from the community I came from. And I felt like I was in a rush, like I had to do this, I have to accomplish this. And then now I feel like I've already accomplished mostly all of what I wanted. Not everything, but mostly all the like life goal things. I have 5 states to get to 50. I'd like to spend more quality time with my friends and people that I love. But I don't have any goal. Like I don't know how to say I
You've
don't
done a
have any
lot.
like goals left in that way. And so I think the way I view life is like somebody who is retired, right? So they've accomplished all this stuff and then they are like thinking about this next phase of life and like what their legacy is and what impact do they want to leave behind. Not that I'm so accomplished and I don't have any learning and growing to do, but just that the focus is not on the ascent, right? Because I'm like, okay, I did all these stuff. Now I've done that. What else is left to do? And it's not about accomplishments as much as it is about connection and impact,
Mm.
right? And like, how do I really help my children be independent people? They're 5 and 7, right? But how do I help them be confident, independent people who are good people in the world who do good things? Like, that's all like, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, building blocks, like legacy stuff, right? Like that's kind of how I'm different. And I think before I was not focused on that at all. I think I had it in the back of my mind, but now it's at the forefront of like how I do my life.
So good. What is one big piece of advice or something that you live by that you could pour into our audience today of how we should show up in our lives?
Yeah, I think one of the most powerful practices I've learned is to ritualize your reflection. It's one of the principles of me power. And I think we talk about our growth. I think ritualizing reflection can be done through these retreats that are happening, if they're scheduled. I feel like you have to schedule time for it because if
Mhm.
you do it in passing, then it's frivolous. So
Yep.
if you do it in document, it's best. So even 5 minutes a day, I would say you can pause and ask yourself, what's working, what's draining me, what do I want to reclaim? And if you do this like frequently and document it, you can really shift your direction from yourself. You don't need anything at that point. You just need to ask yourself the question, dedicate time to answer it. And I think, the more that you are committed to making it manifest, the more it will happen. That's really broad and general, but I think this practice of actually pausing to ask and reflect and then gain meaning from it as you move throughout your life. That's like so crucial. I think that's really, it's helped me and I know it helps so many people.
Mm. It's so beautiful. Like I said, I always believe that my guests come on at the certain time that I need them in my life because those are things I'm struggling with right now. So, um, thank you. I needed this on a Friday afternoon for sure after such a crazy week. Is there anything else that we didn't get to talk about that you want to leave with today?
No, I just hope that people just really intentionally disconnect and unplug so that they can reconnect with themselves.
Mm.
And how we show up really impacts the work that we do and the people that we are working with and the people who our work impacts. I mean, it's like this holistic circle. So it's like I'm talking about me power, but I'm really talking about our me power, like a collective. It's like the individual and collective in one because we're all interconnected. And I think we have to really care for ourselves first. So that's what I'd say.
Oh my God. Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure meeting you. I know we're going to stay connected because I seriously would love to have you at one of our retreats because I think you could make a huge impact. But thank you. Thank you for telling us your story today.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Okay, bye.